welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing part 2 of the pre-PA Q&A collab with Paul, the PA student. So just like last week, we'll have 3 questions, 2 where we'll both answer, and then 1 where I just answer, and then on his channel, he'll answer that question. So once you're done watching this video, make sure you check the link in my bio and go check out his version of this video. But alright, so let's get started. So this next question is advice or insight on multiple forms of patient care experience. So I decided, much like the profession itself and like the lateral mobility, that I wanted to have multiple types of patient care because I realized that each different experience really teaches you a lot and it's so much different than the next experience. So I was first a volunteer physical therapy aide, then I was a CNA, and then I did some like volunteering patient care experience in the hospital and at a summer camp, and then now I'm a medical scribe. So all of my settings were like completely different and they really all taught me so much, but like none of my experiences were similar in what I learned. As a CNA, I really truly learned so much about bedside manner and how to converse with patients and make them feel comfortable in very uncomfortable situations. But as a medical scribe, I didn't really talk to patients that much, but I learned so much about like common diseases, medications, how to control them, medical terminology, how providers really talk to patients and let them know bad news or good news. They were both great experiences, and I can't say I prefer one over the other because one taught me something so important, bedside manner, that I will use definitely, but then another taught me how 15 different providers practice and I got to pick and choose kind of how I think I want to provide care. Obviously, schools like to see that you're consistent, so I wouldn't say like 1 month do this, 1 month do that, but if you're able to do like maybe volunteering something for like all of your undergrad and have just a few hours per week, and then also do like a patient care job like a CNA or something else during the summer that has a big chunk of hours, I think that's great. It's not necessary to have multiple forms because some people get in with having only medical assistant experience or only one type of experience, and that's great, and they usually have like many hours at one clinic and have such great experiences and connections with the people there. But if you are a person who kind of wants to see different, aspects of medicine in different realms before you get into PA school, or if you're even deciding if you want to go to PA school, I say go for it. If I had to like restart my whole pre-PA journey, I still would have done just the same experiences that I had, if not more. I think having multiple experiences in different realms and different settings helps me not only be a more well-rounded candidate for PA school, but it also makes me more comfortable with different types of people in different settings.
For me, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. So I was an EMT and I highly prefer EMT experience. For me, I feel like being an EMT helped a lot. I was able to do a lot of hands-on procedures, which made me more comfortable when I was learning in the classroom. I have seen a lot of those stuff and I've actually touched a lot of those stuff. So like seeing fractures or, splinting them, or like when we were doing the splint lab and all that kind of stuff, I felt more comfortable because I had done this multiple times. With starting IVs, I was a phlebotomist, so getting the vein was not an unknown territory for me. So it was just a little bit different, and I've appreciated my experience as a provider out there in the field and as a EMT and a phlebotomist. On the other hand, a lot of the scribes that I was in class with, and a lot of my classmates that were scribes, they had a whole different experience. Yes, some of them struggled a little bit with the hands-on stuff, but they got to learn it at the end of the day. But they knew a lot more about medications and disorders than I did. They understood a lot of this because they got to talk about it in the charts and they got to document a lot about it. So it's just going to depend. What I recommend is pick a job that will keep you motivated. My other thing is, it's going to depend on the school because some schools do not take scribe hours. Some schools do not take some EMT hours. So that's going to depend on where you're at and what school you want to go to. So you're just going to have to pick based on your situation. But they're all great jobs and they're all important jobs, and they all prepare you in a certain way for PA school.
This next question hurts my heart because it's about how I'm going to finance PA school, how I'm going to pay for it. And so yes, my answer is loans. So I'm going to take out the loan through FAFSA first, but it only covers, I think it's like $50,000. So my school is $100,000, so I'm obviously going to need to get a private loan in addition to the FAFSA loan. I am also applying for scholarships, and I'm applying to the NHSC scholarship, and if I don't get it like the first year, I can apply a second year, and if I don't get my second year, I can apply as like a loan repayment, scholarship, so I'm going to try to really do that. So the NHSC is essentially a loan repayment or a scholarship program that will pay off your loans or pay for your school if you work for, it's like 2 years. It depends how long you get the loan for, but about 2-3 years in a medically underserved location. So that's something that I want to do anyways, so if I can get them to help me with my school loans and do something I've wanted to do anyways, that just kills 2 birds with 1 stone, and that's like exactly what I want to do. Other than that, I have saved up almost like $10,000 from my scribing job and like other things when I get money. But obviously $10,000 really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things, but I'm hoping that will help me at least with rent and like day-to-day living expenses so I don't have to pay for that on my loans. Honestly, it seems like it's going to be a lot of loans, but I'm really not too scared about it. I know myself and I know how I'm pretty good with budgeting and not overspending money. I'm confident that when I graduate, I'll be able to find like a balanced lifestyle where I'm able to pay a lot per month on my loans, but also not like barely scrape by and like only get the bare minimum. So I think I'll be able to find that balance and pay a good chunk of my loans off each month, but still live my life. So the next question was, would you recommend going to a program out of state if you know you want to practice in a certain state, such as California? So I know the biggest problem for this is credentialing. Certain states have like their own like board exam that you have to pass or your own certifications that you have to get. So I think that will just be another extra step that you'll have to research and like keep in mind when you're going to school there. I know a lot of people have gone out of state and have come back to California to practice. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, and I have talked to a PA where he went to school in Pennsylvania. He came back to California and was applying to kind of more selective jobs. Didn't get any of them, so he went back out to Pennsylvania, got experience for a year, and then came back out to California. But I think it also depends on the person. If they're a bit more picky with their jobs, especially their first job, they may not be happy with what they get, but usually your first job is not your forever job. However, the only thing that I would say is if you go to school out of state, sometimes you get like connections in your rotations and you get job offers. So if your rotations are all in the out of state area, then you probably won't have any connections in California or the state that you want to work in. So that's only one negative, but that's not everybody. I only know a handful of people that have taken job opportunities from their rotations. A lot of times people kind of network outside of school and try to find jobs or go on interviews before they even finish schooling. So I would say if you want to go to an out-of-state program but you still want to practice it in a certain state, I would just do your research beforehand. I would maybe ask a PA that has done that before, or honestly a lot of PA forums kind of explain that, or I'd look at information about travel PAs because they're obviously well versed in the whole licensing and all of that. But it is certainly doable. Like, I'm going to school in California, but I ultimately would like to live in Oregon and possibly be a travel PA for a bit. So I just know at that time when I get to that point, I'll just have to look into how to get certified in each, state that I want to practice in, or what are their license procedures, and then just go from there. So next question is applying to schools where you do not meet their like recommended requirements.
The recommended requirements, what I always tell myself is what's recommended is required. But from my experience, it was a bit different. I got accepted to the program I'm in, and it was one of the schools that I did not meet all the recommended requirements. So here's what I did. I applied to 10 programs, 2 of which I did not meet all the recommended requirements, 6 of which I met all the recommended requirements, and I was a pretty good applicant for them, and 2 of which were my safety schools. I met and exceeded all the recommended requirements and the mandatory requirements. So I got accepted into a program that I thought I would not get in. But I would not apply to all programs that you don't meet the recommended requirements. Pick 2 of them and apply. And then try to apply to the other ones that you meet the recommended requirements and excel above them.
So I only applied to 4 schools, but I had like 2 that were like, my top, but one was my top, which was MBKU. But my second one, Pacific, they had a lot of like recommended courses, and I almost hit every single one of them. I had hours that they needed. Basically, a lot of things that they had recommended, I had. So I thought that would really help me, but they were like one of the first schools that I got rejected from. So I'm not saying that if you have all the recommended things that you will or won't get in, but that's just an example of I had everything that they required. I had A's in all the classes that they had like recommended, and I still got rejected. There's much more to your application than just like their recommended courses or their recommended things. You still need to look at your application as a whole. So if you don't have them, I wouldn't take that as like, oh, you're not gonna get in. Obviously they're recommended for a reason, but I'm an example of someone who's done basically all of them and like met and was like competitive and still didn't get in. But I'm sure there's probably people who did none of that and had like really strong hours or something else and got in. So I think it's good to look at them and good to get an idea, and if your application isn't as strong elsewhere, it may be good to try to take them, but I wouldn't not apply to a school if you don't have their recommended courses. As for their required courses and required hours, only apply to schools where you meet their minimum or you meet their required prerequisites. It will be a complete waste of your time and money to apply to a school where you do not meet those minimums. Alright, so that was part 2 of our pre-PA Q&A. We have a bunch more of your questions to answer, so make sure you check my channel every Sunday for a new video. So make sure you not only subscribe, but click that little bell icon so you can get a notification when I post. Don't forget to go check out Paul's version of this video, the link is down below. Hope you're enjoying these videos and that your questions are getting answered. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a great day. Bye!